Welcome to this explainer, folks. Today, we're going to dive into 10 incredibly bizarre, beautiful, and highly nutritious edible plants that are hiding right under our noses here in the United States. We're uncovering the strange stuff. You know, those wild plants quietly growing in heirloom seed catalogs, regional farming traditions, and maybe even right in your neighbor's backyard. By the time we finish up here, you are going to look at your garden and your dinner plate completely differently.
Okay, let's just imagine something for a second. Imagine a plant that looks exactly like alien eggs, but when you bite into it, it tastes just like a crisp cucumber with this bright citrus twist. Or what if you had a vegetable growing in your yard that literally smelled like peanut butter? Crazy, right? We're so used to seeing the exact same predictable stuff every single time we hit the grocery store, but there is this whole hidden world of horticulture out there that completely defies our expectations of what food should look, smell, and taste like.
So we are moving way beyond the familiar supermarket aisles today. I mean, we've all seen carrots, potatoes, and broccoli a million times. We're trading those in to explore some wildly strange heirloom crops and wild forage. We're talking alien bulbs, massive squashes, and little melons the size of grapes. These plants completely flip the script on how we look at our food system. They're extraordinary, they're absolutely delicious, and honestly, most of them are completely unknown to the vast majority of American cooks.
Section 1. Native Staples and Survivors.
Let's start with the incredible native survivors, the powerful, resilient props that kept indigenous peoples and early settlers alive through some brutally harsh winters. First up is a plant with a seriously misleading name, the Jerusalem artichoke. It has absolutely nothing to do with Jerusalem, and honestly, it isn't even an artichoke. It's actually this towering, yellow-flowered sunflower relative native to eastern North America. Above ground, it's a giant, easily topping 10 feet. But below ground, it produces this crazy tangle of lumpy, pale, knobby tubers. Eat them raw and they're crisp and nutty, kind of like a water chestnut. But roast them and they transform into this silky, rich, velvety texture. Now this plant does hide a bit of a deceptive secret. It thrives in poor soil with almost zero care, and it's packed with a specific type of carbohydrate called inulin fiber. But that exact same super healthy fiber has earned it a pretty hilarious nickname in the culinary world, the fartichoke. Yep, it comes with some truly spectacular digestive consequences if your stomach isn't used to it. You've been warned.
Moving right along, if we dive down onto the forest floor, we find the groundnut, also known as hopness. This is a wild native legume with vines that just trail all across shrubs, blooming with these reddish-purple flowers that actually smell faintly of violets. But the real secret of this plant? It comes down to the number 3. Those small, brown, earthy-tasting tubers hiding underground pack nearly 3 times the protein of a regular potato. Plus, it's a 2-in-1 deal. Both the tubers and the seeds are completely edible.
And the historical impact of the groundnut is just massive. Think back to 1620. The Pilgrims arrive at Plymouth, and they are completely unprepared for how harsh the American landscape really is. It was actually these native groundnuts that literally saved them from starving to death. These creamy, chestnut-flavored tubers were an absolute survival staple. And the cool thing is, today, researchers and permaculture folks are actually working to domesticate this amazing plant to farm sustainably in poor soils.
Section 2. Wild, foraged, and fierce. So, moving from the cultivated to the untamed, we hit the wild greens and alliums. These are the plants that fiercely refuse to be domesticated. They only show up on their own terms, and the variety here is staggering. On one side, you've got the nodding onion. It's elegant, quiet, and honestly looks more like a delicate pink wildflower than food. It loves dry soil and has this mild, garlicky taste that indigenous peoples have used for centuries. Now, contrast that with the Appalachian ramp. Ramps might look like dainty scallions, but they pack an aggressively pungent, garlicky punch. I'm not kidding, they are so intensely strong that historically, they've been known to actually shut down schools when kids brought them in their lunchboxes. No way, right? Today, though, they are a premium, highly sought-after ingredient at fancy restaurants.
Then we have wild mustard greens. These are totally unapologetic weeds that just blanket the country. If you've ever driven past those spectacular fields of brilliant yellow flowers in California wine country, or just seen a yellow weed poking out of a sidewalk crack, yeah, that's wild mustard. You don't plant them, they plant themselves. Survivalists absolutely love them because they offer this sharp, spicy, peppery bite and are just loaded with vitamins A, C, and K. You can even harvest the tiny seeds and grind them up to make your very own homemade mustard. How cool is that?
All right, Section 3, Immigrant Heirlooms and Traditions. Now we're getting into the strange seeds carried over by immigrants seeking a new life, which eventually turned into beloved regional staples. First up, kohlrabi.
Guys, this thing literally looks like a pale green UFO hovering an inch above the dirt. It was brought over by German immigrants in the 1800s and became a huge deal in the chilly climates of the Midwest. Now, despite looking like an alien root, it's actually just a swollen cabbage stem. Slice through that tough skin, and the inside is this crisp, juicy flesh that tastes like a perfect, mild mashup of a broccoli stem and a sweet apple.
Next, check out the cushaw squash. It has a shape so incredibly distinctive, it honestly looks like it was carved by a folk artist rather than grown in the dirt. It's a Mesoamerican native that the American South adopted centuries ago, and the reason why is simple. It is remarkably resistant to pests and basically laughs in the face of that brutal, sweltering summer heat that destroys almost everything else in the garden.
And it doesn't just survive that heat, it thrives aggressively. These vines go wild, pumping out massive fruits that can easily hit 20 pounds. Crack one open, and the flesh is golden, sweet, and way less watery than a standard pumpkin. In fact, bakers all across Appalachia will swear up and down that this weirdly shaped giant makes a much better pie than any regular pumpkin ever could. Plus, the whole thing stores straight through the winter without needing to be in a fridge.
Our last heirloom here is corn salad. Okay, let's clear this up immediately. It has literally zero to do with corn. Sometimes called mache, it's a velvety, delicate European pioneer green. It grows in these low little rosettes of spoon-shaped leaves that stay tender even when the ground is freezing cold. It's got this rich, buttery, nutty flavor that was so highly prized, Thomas Jefferson actually grew it at Monticello. He relied on it completely when every other salad green had just given up for the winter.
Moving on to Section 4, Southern Classics and Tiny Wonders. We're looking at a remarkably versatile Southern classic and a tiny little wonder that just brings pure joy. Let's talk about Chayote. It looks a bit like a wrinkly pale green pear, but it actually climbs on vines like a cucumber. It grows wild in the South, and down in Louisiana Cajun cooking, they call it mirlican. It's the absolute star of Thanksgiving casseroles. But here's the real kicker, the thing that makes it a true powerhouse. Basically, the whole shebang is edible. The fruit is crisp and juicy, kind of like zucchini mixed with jicama. The big seed inside tastes faintly of almond. And on top of that, you can eat the tender shoots, the leaves, and even the tuber roots underground. And finally, the mouse melon, also known as the Mexican sour gherkin. This native Central American vine grows something so improbable it's almost funny. They look exactly like miniature, perfectly striped watermelons, but they are literally shrunk down to the size of a grape. You pop one in your mouth expecting sweet melon, but nope. Instead, you get this huge, cooling cucumber crunch packed with a massive tart citrus explosion. They are tough, pest-resistant, and honestly just perfect for small urban gardens.
Which brings us to our final stop, Section 5, Why the Strange Stuff Matters.
So, what does this all mean? With all the convenient, perfectly uniform veggies sitting at the grocery store right now, why should anyone bother seeking out these bizarre, hidden crops? Well, growing and eating the strange stuff has real power. It sparks amazing conversations at farmers markets, and for sure, it surprises the heck out of your dinner guests. But deeper than that, it anchors us. It connects us right back to forgotten indigenous histories and survival traditions that a plain old supermarket carrot just can't touch. By keeping these weird and wonderful plants on our plates, we're actively preserving incredible genetic diversity. From aggressively pungent ramps that can literally clear out a school building, to massive 20-pound squashes, to tiny little melons that explode with citrus, there is an entire hidden world of flavor just waiting out there. So many cooks would absolutely love these if they just knew they existed. So thinking about all this beautiful, bizarre agriculture we've explored today, what forgotten piece of history are you going to discover next?